Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Jennifer Duran West and welcome to the conversation, How to Take Care of Yourself, Self-Care. The purpose of our conversation is to discuss what is self-care and chat about a few things that, we all can do to make sure to take care of ourselves. But before we get started, let's review what topics we'll cover during our time together today. Yeah? So we're going to review what self-care is. We'll look at self-care in a different way, a different perspective. Then we're going to review what self-care isn't. We're going to look at where to start, some basic ways. We'll look at a basic checklist that most of us can follow. And we're going to review Beverly Kyer's 3 R's. Last, we'll choose a few things to incorporate in our daily practice and review a self-care plan that you can use to get started. So are you excited? Great, let's begin. So when asked the question, do you take care of yourself? Most of us will instantly answer, yes, we do. And some of us will even think, what type of question is that? Of course I take care of myself. However, when asked, in what ways do you take care of yourself? Well, that gets a little tricky, the specifics. How many of us feel this way? And some of us, we may find that we don't deliberately do specific things daily to take care of ourselves. So now let's focus on what is self-care. While I'm reviewing self-care, please reflect to yourself what self-care means for you. How do you currently incorporate it in your life? And what do you do specifically to take care of yourself? Now, sometimes some of us may think that self-care is this elaborate event like going to the spa, having a spa day, or a weekend. We pamper ourselves with massages, with grooming, haircut, mani, pedi. And yeah, those are great things to do. And that is part of taking care of yourself. However, self-care is more than that. And today we're going to talk about it. So, self-care is any daily activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of your emotional, physical, and mental health. Once again, deliberately. Although it's a simple concept in theory, it's something that some of us very often overlook. Now, good self-care is key to improved mood and reduce anxiety. It's also key to a good relationship with yourself and others. So now let's jump into what self-care isn't. And knowing what self-care isn't might be even more important. It's not something that we force ourselves to do or something we don't enjoy to do. As Agnes Weinman explained, self-care is something that fuels us rather than takes from us. Or Beverly Kyer, a compassion fatigue coach, what she said is, it's important to help others out of abundance. So self-care is crucial to our daily practice. Self-care isn't a selfish act either. It's not only about considering our needs, it's rather about knowing what we need to do in order to take care of ourselves. Not to mention being able to take care of others. So in other words, if I don't take enough time to take care of myself, I won't be in the place to give to others. And that's what we do daily in our line of work. So you may be asking yourself, where do I start? And that leads us to 3 things to think about. Number 1, keep a conscious mind is what's really important. In other words, if you don't see something as self-care or don't do something in order to take care of yourself, it won't work as such. Be aware of what you do, why you do it, how it feels, and what the outcomes are. You want this to be effective and helpful to your self-care practice. Number 2, stick to the basics. Over time, you'll find your own rhythm and routine. You will be able to implement more and identify more particular forms of self-care that work for you. 3, self-care needs to be something you actively plan rather than something that happens by accident or on a whim. It's an active choice, and you must treat it as such. Add certain activities to your calendar. Announce your plans to others in order to increase your commitment, and actively look for opportunities to practice self-care. Although self-care means different things to different people, there's a basic checklist that can be followed by all of us. Let's look at a few things on this checklist, yeah? Number 1, create a no list with things you know you don't like to do or no longer want to do. Examples might include not checking emails at night, not attending gatherings you don't like, not answering the phone during lunch or dinner or during family time. 2, promote a nutritious, healthy diet. So both good and bad moods can come from food. If you drink too much coffee, it will bring on anxiety, nervousness, and moodiness. And when you're stressed or depressed, you're more likely to crave and eat simple carbohydrates like white bread, cookies, candies, chips. And these foods boost. What they do is they boost your mood and for a short period of time, but then you'll notice that you're crashing. And you might feel down, out of energy, cranky. In addition to eating a healthy, balanced diet, don't forget to stay hydrated. When you get dehydrated, you may even also find that you get cranky and feel disoriented, not thinking clearly, and you won't be as sharp. 3, get enough sleep. Adults need usually 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. What we know is not getting enough sleep can be detrimental to your health. And sleep is one of the most important elements of self-care. It affects neurotransmitters, stress hormones, thought process, and emotional regulation. Too little can make it difficult to make decisions, solve problems, and control your emotions and behavior. Simply put, everything seems worse when you don't get enough sleep. Everything's like a crisis. Whatever symptoms you typically experience are amplified. And additionally, even though you may feel like you're functioning fine with a little bit of sleep, you really aren't. Studies have found that drowsy driving can impair your functioning behind the wheel just as much or even more than drunk driving. Okay, 4, exercise. In contrast to what many people think, exercise is good for our emotional health as it is for our physical health. It increases your serotonin levels, leading to improved mood and energy in line with self-care conditions. What's important is that you choose a form of exercise that you like. Physical activity, although it seems impossible to think about exercise when you're depressed or anxious, you can't argue with the research. Exercise helps. You don't need a gym, memberships, to reap the benefits of exercise. You can simply walk, run, cycle, swim, dance, and even garden. All these help reduce the symptoms of anxiety and depression. Try not to think about it as exercise and think about it as moving instead, right? Remember, you can put on some music, you can dance with your kids, by yourself. Starting out with something small like walking around the block few times or maybe even once. Then the next day or the next time, you can try to walk a little bit further. Slowly walking your way to a brisk walk and farther by farther every single time. The combination of fresh air and movement will really help your mind and body. 5. Follow up with medical care. It's not unusual to put off checkups or visits to the doctor. When you feel like it's time to, make an appointment for a checkup. Or when was the last time you saw the dentist? Once again, when appropriate, when safe, take a visit. Do some follow-up. Do a yearly checkup. Get those teeth checked. 6. Use relaxation exercises and or practice meditation. You can do these exercises at any time of the day, anywhere. In the elevator, take a couple breaths. At your desk, breathe a few times. You can sit in silence, even in the car. These are all helpful and they can really help improve your mood and your mental health. 7. Spend enough time with your loved ones. Hug, laugh, compliment, smile. This actually is great for your self-care routine, and it really causes a lot of great hormones like oxytocin, serotonin. So when you don't feel well, it's easy to stay away from people and avoid the outside world. But social connection is very important, especially now. Humans are social animals who crave interaction with others. In fact, loneliness not only negatively impacts your mental health, but it also has been linked to cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, and even memory problems. It can even interfere with your sleep. So when it comes to mental health, loneliness feeds symptoms. Loneliness exacerbates the symptoms of illness like depression, social anxiety, and alcoholism. As difficult as it is to do, try to initiate to reach out to others. If you're feeling down, if you really need to, just push yourself even when it gets so hard. Give a friend a call or Zoom, FaceTime with family or friends. Get involved with something you like, and nowadays things are offered online. So take a class, join a book club. It will help put you outside of your comfort zone, but when you make connections and begin to socialize, you will start to feel the positive benefits. Over time, loneliness will fade. 8. Do at least one relaxing activity every day, whether it's taking a walk or spending 30 minutes unwinding, maybe even alone. 9. Do one pleasurable activity every day, from watching a movie to cooking to talking with friends, connecting. And 10. Look for opportunities to laugh. When you feel sick, you most likely take time from work and give your body the rest it needs. Some of us give ourselves permission to rest and recover, and we need to help ourselves feel better. And sometimes we don't. We don't rest. We don't take care of ourselves. Sometimes we just push ourselves too much, and as a result, the illness gets worse. So stop. Start to take care of yourself. Start to take it easier. And just like you allow yourself to rest during a sickness or an illness, do the same thing in regards to self-care. Physical, spiritual, and emotional health are all connected, which is why it's important to focus on taking care of your whole person. Next, we're going to go over 8 aspects to focus on to help you stay mentally well. The first one is physical: sleep, stretching, walking, exercise, nutrition, yoga. Emotional: stress management, coping skills, compassion, therapy, journaling, write it all down. Social: boundaries, support, positive, social media, communication, friends. Spiritual, time alone, meditation, prayer, nature, sacred space. Personal, hobbies, creativity, goals, identity, authenticity. Your space, safety, healthy environment, stability, clean space. Financial, saving, budgeting, money management, paying bills, once again, boundaries, but financial. Work, time management, work boundaries, and breaks. Now that we've gone through them, choose one or maybe two that you would like to include in your daily practice. Which one speaks for you? I'll pause for a moment so you can really look at them and figure out which one is for you. We are all aware that stress worsens our life in many ways. Even though you may try to ignore it, stress, it always catches up to you. It can damage your body and worsen the symptoms of mental health illnesses. It increases anxiety, causes us to eat poorly, prevents us from sleeping properly, and can put stress on relationships with yourself and with others. While it's impossible to eliminate stress in life, or all stress in life, it's crucial to come up with healthy ways for you to deal with it. Find something that works for you. Maybe meditation, deep breathing, gardening, or even talking to a friend, venting. Now, here are some ideas to help cope with stress. Asking for help, spending time alone, putting yourself first. Most of us don't really do that one. Asking for what you need, setting boundaries, staying at home, especially now, saying no, forgiving yourself, and taking a step back. So now let's turn to Beverly Kier. She was a CWA presenter back in this summer for the Summer Conference 2020. And Beverly Kier, she is a compassion fatigue coach. And what she says is, she says that there are 3 R's that we must include in our daily practice to maintain regulation for yourself, emotional regulation. And the 3 R's are release, reboot, and recharge. The first R, release, means that all the stuff that you hold on to, just let it go. Stop holding on to everything, whatever's on your chest. The things that we hold on to can be, for example, things like the current crisis, arguments with family or friends, things that are going on at work or at home, us parents, remote learning and all the stresses about remote learning, worried about people that we can't do anything about. She says, just release it. And what we tend to do is that these worries and concerns, they start to accumulate and we store them. And then we start adding them into other things. So they start stacking upon each other. And then comes a time when we have no more room or storage for all these things. And guess what? We blow up like a volcano, overflowing with all this stuff. The next R, according to Beverly, is reboot. These are the things we have mentioned so far, and we're going to talk about a few more in a moment. Whatever we need to reboot may include things like breathing, clearing your mind with a walk, fresh air, or even a chat to vent with friends or unwind. Or you can do some activities on your own like stretching, yoga, or meditation. Or, like we talked about earlier, just having a laugh. Getting these good chemicals flowing and removing all the stress chemicals that are accumulating and in your system. So, and then when you've cleared your mind, and now you're in a better state to make those important decisions, you're ready and better equipped for your next steps, for your next strategies, for your action plans. You can't do all those things when you're under those stress-like chemicals. Remember, you can't function, you can't think, you can't make good decisions. So after rebooting, things become clear, right? Sometimes we just feel good once we take a walk and our minds are clear. The last R to cover is recharge. If we don't recharge, things break down in our bodies. It taxes on us. We need to learn to continue to recharge for your own mental health, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. One way, like we've mentioned before, is to sleep. That's one simple way to recharge, and we all can do it. Your brain chemistry changes after a good night's sleep. Think of things that also develop your right brain, for example, like your right brain chemistry. For example, like playing music or creating some art or even body movement. These 3 R's, we can incorporate them in our daily practice and not waiting for tomorrow or for the weekend, or what we say is like, oh yeah, I'll work on it pretty soon. We'll do it Friday. Once Friday comes, I'll take care of it. That's taxing to us, and it builds up daily. Remember, this is a daily practice, or at least every other day. Think about how you can incorporate the 3 R's into your daily practice. What will you release today? How will you reboot? Or what is one activity that you will follow to recharge? I would just want to take a quick moment to thank Beverly for this great information I learned at CWA. And if you would like to know more, you can go to beverlykyer.com, just like the image below. She's got some great stuff to incorporate in your self-care toolkit. Okay, so here we have an image with 50 ways to take a break. Let's look at this image now. See which ones you would like to incorporate for yourself. I'm going to stay silent for a moment and allow you to explore and reflect. And when choosing, think about which one calls to you. Which one do you see as pleasurable? Which one do you like? Also, these are just some examples that we have. I'm sure there's other things not on this list that you would like to incorporate in your daily self-care routine. Think about those too. And before I give you some silence, please note I will make these slides available to you through your supervisor. Okay, now I'm going to stay quiet for a minute. Okay, now let's look at creating a self-care plan that works for you. Remember, the only way that this works is if we are deliberate and we work on this daily or at least weekly and we practice it. So here on the self-care plan, you have some space to write down your physical, your psychological, emotional, spiritual, relationship and workplace choices, your overall balance, what might get in the way, what are your barriers to your self-care plan, what are your issues, your concerns, and what negative strategies do you need to avoid? And if you implement your plan, how are you going to feel? So sometimes some of us really like to write it down. And so this self-care plan is actually helpful. And as I mentioned earlier, I will make the PowerPoint slides available and also this self-care plan as a PDF, and I'll make it available to you after our time together today. So think about all that we've discussed and spend some time creating your own self-care plan. Have fun, choose what's pleasurable and enjoyable for you, and once again, you'll start to see all the benefits. Okay, so let's summarize. What did we talk about today? We talked about how self-care is important to maintaining a healthy relationship with yourself and with others. It means doing things to take care of our minds, bodies, and souls by engaging in activities that are promoting well-being, reduce stress, and pleasurable. Doing so enhances our ability to live fully, vibrantly, and effectively. The practice of self-care also reminds both you and others that your needs are valid and a priority. After this conversation, knowing the importance of taking care of yourself, I encourage you to really think about what was discussed today. For you to be of service to the community, to the program participants, to your family, your friends, and to yourself, the most important question now is to how are you going to incorporate all of these small steps into your self-care plan and into your daily lives? So what did we talk about? We began by sharing how we can only give from abundance and not from depletion. We discussed some ways to incorporate self-care in our lives. We reviewed Beverly Kyer's 3 R's, release, reboot, and recharge, and discussed how those 3 R's can fit in our lives. Last, we reflected on how important it is for us to be deliberate in our daily self-care and thought of at least one activity to incorporate in our self-care routine. This is important so we can continue to work our magic in our communities and in our homes with our family and friends. But before we close, I'd like to thank you all for paying attention. If you have any questions about the information I shared with you, please email me, or you can go ahead and ask your supervisor and they can email me and I will do my best to answer. And last but not least, have a great rest of the day. Thank you.